Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Making sure I'm on. There I go. I always got to look on my phone to make sure. How you guys doing? A night that is a night for lovers, I guess. Different people. I still want to make sure I came on here and did my live, guys. I want to be faithful. I haven't been on. I've been kind of all over the place, and I like to be committed with my time frames. So Valentine's Day was it. So here I am on Valentine's Day. I know Valentine's Day is not a great time for everybody. It's not always a special time for everybody. And it doesn't necessarily have to be because you're single. There are people who are in relationships that Valentine's Day is not such a great day for them. But I want us to press on through this together. And even if there's not a lot of people who come on through tonight, I still want you guys, when you guys catch this through the replay, if you guys come back and get on a replay, just push back, just press on the hashtag replay, just so I can see that you came on here. If you get a chance, share it. I want to kind of do some talking about commitment. And I thought today would be a good day to do it because I know there are people who are struggling with this, with the idea of, why don't I have somebody? Hey, mom, why don't I have somebody? Or, this commitment struggle for men. And so I wanted to get on here and talk about why is commitment such a struggle for men? And really, I kind of was torn with this because I was specifically thinking about for Black men, not even just men in general. And the reason why I say Black men is because that's the race I'm more familiar with. I'm sure white men, Asian men, Hispanic men, I'm sure all of them have their struggles with commitment. I try my best not to generalize. I know every race has their issues with commitment. I know there are women that have issues with commitment. This is not a one size fit all thing, but I know that I see often, more often than not, and I hear more often than not when I'm talking to people, when I'm counseling people, when I'm coaching people, that there seems to be this commitment shy group of Black men. And so I didn't put it in the title, but I definitely still wanted to kind of make that my focus. Why is a commitment such a struggle for Black men? And so if as you come on, hey, happy Valentine's Day, Marva. Yeah, how you doing? Got anything special planned? Yeah, and if you guys got something special planned, throw that in there. If you guys got questions, if you guys got comments about it, throw it on in there. I kind of want Friday to be kind of open up, like whatever we want to chat about, whatever comes about. But I always have my little agenda. I kind of stepped away from it. Sometimes I realize it's kind of difficult for me to come up with agendas because I'm very much a free fall kind of speaker. I like to speak from the heart. I like to speak what God tells me to speak. And so I have a skeletal of what I'm going to say, but I don't like to get locked into it. And so let's dive in. So one of the things I wanted to get on is that I was talking to my mom and we were talking about so the way this topic came about, first of all, was I was talking to James earlier. And for those of you who don't know, James is my husband. And we were just talking about men and the complication of men. And we were talking about how men have this perception and this perceived way of kind of doing things. And they have this pride. It kind of came up, we were talking about my son and, our sons and how when they want to do something, they do things a particular way and yada, yada, yada. And so we were doing all of that and talking about that. And then it kind of gave me this idea like, man, this also sounds very similar to why men might struggle with commitment and things of that nature. And so then as the day went on, I was talking to my mom and then we kind of we started thinking about the old song Shaft. I don't know how many of you all, I know the new song, there's a new remake of Shaft, but there was the old Shaft where, was it Isaac Hayes? I think that's who sung it. I forgot. But Isaac Hayes who sung about Shaft. And basically the line was, he's a complicated man and nobody understands him but his woman. And that kind of got me to thinking about how complicated men can be. And usually we don't get the idea that men are complicated because usually we always talk about women being complicated, women being emotional, women having all these different things going on, but men are very complicated as well. And I don't think a lot of times they get to just do desserts about their level of complication. Now, I believe men can be very black or white. I think women operate in a lot more gray area. I think that's that emotional piece that tends to be. They tend to be factual, black or white. And like I said, remember, I'm not saying this is every man. I'm not saying this is everybody. I'm saying generally speaking, that men tend to be very black or white, but even in that black or white, there needs to be a level of complication. And so in that complication, um, men have these ideas, but there were these ideas that I wanted to come away with. So why do men struggle with commitment? So these are the things that kind of come around. They are dogs. They can't be faithful. They're sex fiends. They always want to have sex. They have sex with any and everybody. They're non-committal. They want their cake and eat it too. They get bored easily. They just have a hard time sticking to one woman. And these are some of the ideas and thought processes that people kind of say that men have a hard time committing. But I really believe it's way more deeper than that. I do believe that men do have this idea that being with a woman and one woman can be very intimidating at times. Because even when I talk to some men, the idea of what if there's something better out there? But usually when I'm talking to men, single men, and they're thinking like that, that's usually because they have not found the one that they feel is the one. Generally, when men have found somebody who they want to settle down with, they don't really struggle or vacillate with what if there's something better out there. They get very committed and very rooted into that idea. Depends on how they were raised. Absolutely. It also gets down into how they're raised too. That brings me to my point, Marva, of one of the things I've always said too about with men is that I feel like men need to I think with boys, we need to start raising them as young men with the idea of commitment and marriage. I think oftentimes we raise our daughters with this idea of being monogamous and being with one person. And with our boys, we kind of give them this idea of sowing their wild oats, being free. Don't settle down too soon. Figure it out. Don't get too committed too quick. But with girls, we don't usually tell them that. With girls, we usually tell them, don't spurt it around. Don't be with too many guys. Make sure you keep yourself. Focus on your education. We actually teach women to have a level of commitment and a level of focus. And whereas men, we give them a room to graze the pastures. And oftentimes as boys, they graze these pastures and nobody ever really yokes them in or brings them back in or settles them down. And so the idea of this becomes, how do we get these men to become more committal? So the first stop is that I believe that you have to start when they're young. You have to start when boys are younger, teaching them how to be committed. You have to teach them how to be committed to not just ideas, but you have to teach them how to be committed to people and teaching them how being with one person and one idea is okay. The idea of just being with one person is a fine notion. But generally, people don't teach young men that. They teach them that, be free, and not even just in the secular world. This is even a Christian thought process. I remember when we were raising our sons, when the boys were young, I would always tell people, I really wanted our sons to get married young. I wanted them to wait to have children, but get married young. I wanted them to find their wives, settle down, figure out who they wanted, and grow with their wives. Now, mind you, if that's not what they wanted to do, fine. None of my sons are married yet, and my oldest son is about to be 24. And so nobody's got married yet. But my idea was, it's okay. So I started teaching my sons, it's okay to marry young. It's not, you have to wait until you're 40 and 50 and 60 years old to figure out marriage. Because people can be 40 and 50 and still lose commitments and divorce. You don't have to be young just to divorce. And so in this process, the thing was, we would have people in the church world who would tell us, girl, don't tell your sons that. Don't tell them to get married young. What you doing? They got to be free. They got to experience the world. They got to see everything. And I would always say, well, why do they have to do, like, why can't they do that with a wife? Why can't they learn who they are? Why can't they learn this person, get to know this person, grow with this person? And people's concepts and their perceptions are that men tend to be so wild and so, young men tend to be so wild and need to be so free, that the idea is that they can't be committed. And so I think, especially in the Black community, is that there's this idea that there's almost a sense that Black men can't have this sense of commitment and being calm and being tied down and being independent. So that was just kind of my thought process with that. But my other piece with it is coming to the point. I came up with four characteristics of men. One, men are very competitive. They want to be the best at what they do. Second, men can tend to be very prideful. They take pleasure in their own achievements. Third, they can be very strong. They want to be, they tend to be unmovable. And fourth, men can be very determined. They have a decided course of action. And so they tend to be very decided on what they do. Now, going back to what Marva said, absolutely. It depends on how they are raised. Not every man grows up to be in this man frame, but the underlying can be these 4 points. And so the idea is that since men are competitive, they tend to not like to do things that they don't feel that they're going to be successful at. So if they have been surrounded around a lot of family members, a lot of friends, a lot of people who are failures at relationships, who don't succeed at relationships, who don't do well in relationships, then they start weighing the cost. Well, if they're not doing well at this relationship, well, I might not do well at this relationship. So I don't think I'm going to take a stab at being committal in this situation because I might not do good in this. And so the pride of the situation begins to be one of those things where I'm not going to do this because I'm not really going to fare well at this. So I'm not going to go ahead and try this. And so the pride situation of it makes them stop. Also, the competitive nature of it. If I'm not going to be the best at this, then I'm not going to do this. If I'm not going to win at this, if the woman I marry is not going to be the best, if I'm not going to have the marriage that's going to last forever, then I'm not going to put all my effort into it. And so whereas some women, they'll go into marriage like we're in love, we're emotional, I love this person. A man will love a woman, but if he feels like it's not going to work out, if he feels like the balance of it is not going to be strong enough, he might be like, yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is all going to work out. And then you have the other part of it is that they have this idea that they're determined to be in this situation and succeed. If their determination is not strong enough, if they feel like they're going to be in this position that they're not going to do well, then they're going to take a step back. Now, there are other pieces to this. There is mama issues, there's pain issues, there's other relationship issues, there's baby mama issues. There are all other type of issues that go into this that makes the situation even more complicated, that makes it a situation that men have a hard time committing. Like I said, but what ends up happening is that when men struggle with commitment, generally it has an underlying idea of failure connected to it. You know, I don't think I'm going to do well with this. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I have what it takes to succeed in this situation. I don't think that I have the resources. I don't think I have the means to be able to take it in this relationship. Absolutely. They have these father issues. You know, they have absolutely, Mark. They haven't seen it. I haven't seen this done successfully. And so therefore, if I have not seen this done successfully, how can I do this successfully? And so even though some people might say, well, you know, so I go with this. Most women, even though they may not have had a great mom, or even though their mother might not have done well, or sons, they've seen their mother at some point or another, or they've seen some woman mothering. How have they seen their father stay committed, or what males have they seen stay committed to a process? And that becomes the question. if a young boy doesn't see a man stay committed to something, it becomes difficult for them to believe that commitment is possible. So I think about like my like with my sons, they have been able to see my husband work and be committed to something. Even though my husband and I have not had a perfect marriage by any stretch of the imagination, we have not did everything right in our marriage. The idea of the matter is that they have seen their father stay committed to the relationship. Um, they have seen their father stay involved in the relationship. They have seen, even when I have been at my worst, when I have been in my worst moods, when I have been emotional, when I have been all over the place, when I have not been my best self, they've still seen their father stick it out. They haven't seen their father turn and run and leave and say, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of her. Now they have seen their dad say, you know what, this is too much, and he step away or I step away and us go into separate spaces and then come back together. But at the end of it, they always see us come back together and work through a resolution. And so at the end of the day, my sons have seen that there is a possibility, there is a way that even when you don't get along, even when there's an issue, you can still work through and be committed to something, even when you have two different ideas and two different notions of things. And so that becomes the idea of it. So men tend to struggle with commitment because generally they don't know how to press through, because either they have not seen it happen, they don't believe it can happen because they haven't seen it, or that they don't know how it can happen. They can't see the process of it happening. And so the way you work through that commitment issue is, as a woman, you make a decision to either be patient and figure out, is this, I guess the way to look at it is, and one of the questions that I ask people is, you have to make a decision in your own self. Is this something worth working through? So I'm not talking about marriage. When you're going through the vetting process and deciding if you want to be with somebody, is this a situation that I'm willing to work through? Is this a situation that I'm willing to dive into with this person? Or is this seem to be too much? And with the man, is this a commitment issue, a part of his character, or is this just something he hasn't learned? Is this something that does he want to learn? Because I believe there's a difference between somebody wanting to learn something or somebody being stubborn and being rebellious and turning away from it. So I knew I wasn't going to have, well, first of all, I came on here early. So I knew that wasn't the case. I said I wasn't going to be on at 6:15, but I was like, let me go ahead and get this done and get this out here. Second, I know it's Valentine's Day. People are getting themselves together, doing whatever they're doing, but I still wanted to be committed to my word and get on out here. And third, I still wanted us to get to this part about commitment things and men and struggles. And I also wanted to deal with some ideas of how do people overcome this kind of stuff. So thank you guys for coming on. For those who do the replay, make sure you do #replay so I can see that you came on here. If you get a chance, share it. Also, I've started my YouTube channel, so go on there, E.R.Relationship Coaching. With that, also, I still have my webpage, and I'm doing my blogs on there as well. All right, chat soon, guys. Have a happy Valentine's Day. Also, too, another thing. Next Saturday, James and I, we're going to be doing I don't know what you call it, not really a seminar, that's a little stuffy. We're doing a talk about romance goals, and it's basically going to be talking about how to romancify, I know that's a word I'm making up, your relationship in different stages of your relationship. So come on out. I have a flyer on my page. I don't have the address right off the top of my head, but if you go on my ER Relationship Coach page, there's a flyer on there. You don't have to RSVP. You don't have to do any of that. You just come on out. For those who are coming in and I'm coming off, I'm so sorry. I came on, I had like 20 minutes early. I apologize. But catch the replay. Yeah, I catch you guys soon. So sorry, y'all. Hey, Charles, how you doing? You jumped on in. I was just about to log on out. I saw you on here. How you doing? I ain't never seen you on here before. That doesn't mean you have never been on here before. Yeah. So catch the replay. Yeah. And unless you got a quick question, but yeah, catch the replay and let me know and send your questions and things out if you guys have other questions. I got a couple of more weeks of relationship stuff about healing from relationships. So any kind of questions or thought processes you guys have that you guys want to ask me about healing from any type of relationship things, please do. Uh, you do good, good. I'm so glad you watched the replays. So anything you got, any questions you guys have, any topics you want me to discuss, please do so. Yeah. So talk to you guys soon. Chat soon, guys.